Hey, this is Barry Buchaman. You're listening to the Interactive Interview.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.com. I'm James Walsh, joined as always by Daniel Edler, with our special guest this week, Barry Bull Buchanan. Let's get to the questions.
Is from Ben Kent, and he wants to know who trained you and how you broke into the business.
A guy named James Hammonds trained me back in, I guess, the end of 92, beginning of 93. He was just a small promoter here in our hometown, and I knew that they were doing shows, and it's something I'd always wanted to do, so I got in touch with him, and he trained me, and most of the first shows that I did were with him, and then I started to venture out on my own more, but yeah, that's who trained me, and so.
How'd you end up breaking in?
Huh?
How'd you end up getting jobs in indie feds and things like that?
I started with him, and I got my name out, and just kind of gradually branched out more and more, started traveling a little further, as word got out of different shows. And I guess my first real break was with the Sammy Kent. They had a little promotion here in Atlanta called North Georgia Wrestling. A lot of guys came through there: New Jack, Mustafa, Scotty Riggs, a ton of guys. Being here in Atlanta, there were a lot of wrestlers, a lot of wrestling here. So it was a starting point for a lot of guys.
You've been with the WWE for 7 years, up until your release. How did you break in originally? Like, who approached you, and how did they sign you on?
Actually, my first real break in wrestling came with Jim Cornette. He brought me into Smoky Mountain, and I worked there until the promotion closed. And he told me to just keep working, because Glenn Jacobs had just went up, and he was there, and Al Snow was there. Both those guys went up, and he told me just to keep working, and he would see what he could do, because he thought I had the potential to go. About 6 months later, I got a chance to go to ECW with a guy named Billy Black, who used to work a lot in Japan with Joel Deaton. And we went as a tag team. We did one TV with ECW, and came back. And I guess Cornette kind of used that to build me up with Vince. And I got a call on a Sunday night, a week after I got back from ECW. Cornette called me and said that they wanted to sign me. So I went up to Titan Towers. I was actually there the same day that Rocky signed his contract. We were both there, and they signed me, sent me to Memphis.
Excellent.
Excellent. Did they like, when you were signed, did they outline what plans they had for you for the future, or was it just, were you just pleased to be signed?
No, they, really they just signed me off of Cornette's word, which shows you how much influence he had at that time. But they actually didn't know what they were going to do with me, which is kind of the story of my career there. But like I said, they sent myself, Rocky, and a guy named Bart Sawyer. We were all in Memphis at the same time. So we were actually some of the first, I guess you'd call, developmental guys that the WWF had. And we went there. We just kind of did our own thing there. And I stayed there for about 6 months and just worked I think I was working as a Punisher. And then I got the call to come up. They were going to do the Truth Commission thing. So that was actually the first idea they had with me.
That kind of segues into my next question. You've played a character in the Truth Commission, you were in Right to Censor, you were a rapper, and you did the prison guard gimmick. What was your favorite gimmick in the WWE?
Oh, prison guard gimmick. Prison guard. That was as close to being me as they ever really came.
What what was the furthest from being you?
Most people would be, well, no, they wouldn't be surprised. The South African. Most people would think that the rapper, but I'm actually into hip-hop music. I think that surprised a lot of people up there, that I actually knew what I was talking about when we started doing the gimmick. So I was actually had a lot of fun with that also. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed doing something with John Cena. I think he's one of the, not only future superstars, but I think he's the future superstar. I really think he could be the next Rocky, if given a chance.
Actually, that stands next question.
Into our next question.
Right.
With John, with Brock Lesnar getting the major push, do you feel that perhaps the balance of the TV time between Brock, John, and Randy Orton's been shared out fairly, or do you think that maybe John should have got a more of a fair share? Because when he debuted, he was wrestling Jericho, and now he's pretty much dropped down the card. Do you think that's a fair reflection of his time in there? Or?
You know what, and this is just my opinion. I really don't know how they feel, but I was there for 7 years, and I've seen a lot of guys come and go, and I've seen it happen before. I think with John, they know that they can plug him into almost anything, and he would be ready to go. I think with Brock, it was the obvious monster, and it should, just like it should have been, foot on the floor, balls to the wall, just come in and destroy people. I think with John, hopefully, they know that they can put him in almost any scenario, and he could, he could fill the bill. So I think maybe that's why they're in maybe not such a rush to give him the huge push, because they know that he's there, they know that he's ready. It's not a question of bringing him along. I think they know that he's ready anytime they are. Like I say, that's just my opinion. But
Does John like the gimmick, or did he prefer coming in as the underdog, as a face?
Oh no, we were both having a ball with it. I mean the rapping thing, that's him. That's not written, that's not choreographed. He does all that, and a lot of it he just does completely off the top of his head. And actually I think where it came about was him and Randy Orton would rap in the dressing room and in the showers, and I guess, as happens a lot of times, the office got wind of it, and, there you go. But Randy Orton can go too. That's probably a little known fact, but Orton's pretty good also.
Orton's just been in the news for his injury, but back to yourself. When you worked alongside, I've got a question from forum member Jack the Ripper. He said, when you worked alongside Don Callis and Kurgan in the Truth Commission, how was it to work alongside Callis? And some harsh comments about Kurgan. Was he really as bad in the ring as he appeared on TV?
No. Don was actually a very good worker. Was it Don or Kurgan?
Kurgan, well, both of them, really.
Don was actually a very good worker. And Kurgan was, he was just what he should have been. He was a monster. He was a big man, and, it just wouldn't have looked right for him to be out there giving arm drags and hip tosses. I think what he did very well, and I loved working with two of them. Luke Poirier also, tremendous wrestler. The three of those guys, never understood why they never got more of a chance. Luke was a tremendous, spent years over in Germany wrestling as Rambo. Tremendous technical wrestler. Don was a tremendous mind for the business. Also a good worker.
And a good talk too.
Very good promos.
Right.
And Kurgan was he was a monster. I mean, he was a legitimate monster. And never understood why they never got more of a chance than they did.
Kurgan got pretty lashed by the media after one of his performances in the Royal Rumble match. I think that's possibly where the question comes from, just from that one match, because personally I've never seen... You're right, he did play the role perfectly.
Yeah,
it's just a shame that they're cutting people without such as... I mean, the people like Big Show get so much heat just because they're not like the most rounded Chris Benoit style character, but they play their role perfectly.
Right, I mean, if Big Show went out there and started giving people hip toss and arm drags, people would, say, what the hell is he doing? You're kind of in a no-win situation when you're cast into that stereotype because you're limited as to what you can do, and then they'll say, oh, well, he's limited, he doesn't do a lot. Well, it's kind of a catch-22. But, like I said, Kurgan did very well at what he should have done.
Did you find being under... Sorry to interrupt you there. Did you find being under a WWE contract restricting, and would you return down the line if creative had something to do for you?
No, it wasn't restrictive at all. I mean, for 7 years, I mean, this is just the bottom line of it. For 7 years, my family was financially took care of. I was financially took care of. Even when they didn't know what they were doing with me, even when I was at home, I was still under contract. I was still being paid. And, there was always somewhere to go work. There was always a territory. There was always Memphis. There was always Louisville. But there was always, and I've even done independent contract with WWF. Just I would clear it with the office. I mean, they would be crazy for a guy just to sit at home and not want to work. So, no, and, if I would return, yeah, I mean, I think it basically boiled down to economics. Vince McMahon's a businessman. He made a business decision. I'm not mad about that. So, yeah, I would definitely return down the line.
That's my next question. Was your WWE release mutual, and do you have any hard feelings for anybody in the company?
No. No hard feelings at all. I mean, like I said, it was 7 of the best years of my life. I mean, I got to be, never really dreamed of. I mean, always dreamed of being a wrestler, but I dreamed of wrestling in front of 500 people at, Knoxville Coliseum or Boutwell Auditorium. I never dreamed of 60,000 people at the Houston Astrodome. So no, they let me live a dream. I mean, there's no hard feelings at all. Jim Ross, Jim Cornette, Bruce Pritchard, all those guys. And I mean, they believed in me. When I'm sure there were people that wrote me off or said, well, listen, we can't figure out what to do with this guy. And I know some of those guys went to bat. I know Jim Ross went to bat for me. I know Bruce Pritchard went to bat for me. Cornette also, and even Vince himself. I mean, because that's what it all boils down to. In the end, it's all Vince's decision. So, they gave me a lot of chances. No, I'm not bitter at all. When I look back on my WWE experience, God, like I said, 7 of the best years of my life.
I'm sorry to step on you, Dan. Recently, you've been backstage at least one of the past NWA TNA pay-per-views. What was that regarding, and what kind of do you see a future possibly in that company?
Actually, I just rode up to see some of the guys I knew, and see what was going on up there. And to be honest with you, I really liked what I saw. As far as the future, yeah, I mean, right now, they're really the only thing going other than the WWE. One of my big goals right now is to make the move to Japan, but I would definitely consider doing NWA.
Do you think that the WWE releasing a lot of talent will eventually help them get more on the map than they are?
As regards to the NWA?
Yeah, TNA. Yeah.
I mean, I think we've all seen when WCW went under, it hurt because there was no competition, and nobody quit trying. The guys were working just as hard. The backstage people, Vince, those guys were working just as hard. But when you don't have competition, you just don't have anything to measure against. And I think now we all see that, and there's probably a lot of guys backstage at WWE pulling for those guys in NWA, simply because I think if their show elevates, it elevates WWE. The two actually working against each other should work to better both the shows. So, yeah, I think you probably wouldn't get anybody to say yes, but I think there's probably a lot of people up there pulling for the NWA to, and you know, I mean, nobody is going to put Vince out of business. Nobody is going to, and even right now, nobody is going to give Vince the kind of neck invitation WCW did at one time. But if somebody could offer an alternative, I think that would just help them and the WWE.
Just a question about, you mentioned Japan. Have you had any talks to go over there with any promotions over there, or what's lying in your immediate future?
I've talked to 01. I've had some kind of third-party talks with Japan, and that's about it right now. Just kind of waiting to see what happens there. And like I said, I mean, I definitely wouldn't rule out NWA. Nashville's not too far from Atlanta, so wouldn't be a bad drive.
Just about TNA, with the release of wrestlers such as yourself and Raven, D'Lo Brown possibly, do you feel that while making a gain, do you feel that it's a major mistake possibly by WWE? Because I mean, although
I don't really think it's a mistake, because I think it all boils down to economics. I think the bottom line is money, and when our business is down, which it is right now, you got to make sacrifices. And basically, I think that's what guys like Raven, myself, D'Lo, Justin, it was guys that they looked at and they said, okay, for whatever reason, we're not sure where we're going, we're not sure what we're doing. Here's the money there, there's a place we can cut some money. I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's an opportunity for somebody else. And that somebody else right now could be the NWA. Take guys that have already had, there's no exposure like the WWE. I mean, there's nothing you can do in business that you get more exposure. I mean, when you're with the WWE and you're on TV, you're a WWE superstar. And, that's a chance for them to take guys that are already made, already have names that people can identify with, and, help build their show. So I don't think it's a mistake by WWE. I think it's just business, but I think it could be an opportunity for somebody else.
Before we let you go, we're going to play a little word associations. We're going to name a person or a name, and we want to get your honest gut opinion of them.
Okay.
Okay, first name, of course, is going to be Vince McMahon.
My boss. Always will be.
Okay, John Cena.
Tremendous talent.
Don Callis.
A good friend.
Steven Richards.
Another good friend, very good friend.
Vince Russo.
Tremendous mind.
The SmackDown booking team.
Very hard workers.
Big Boss.
One of my best friends in the whole wide world.
D'Lo Brown.
Another tremendous talent.
Godfather.
I hate to keep saying the same thing, but one of my best friends.
How about Hulk Hogan?
I'd really have to say more than just one word. Icon, and I never realized it until I got the chance to be around him. An icon.
How about The Rock? Guys like that.
Biggest superstar of our time.
I just want to throw in a couple of questions just before we leave you. Just about the right to censor, we've got to get in a couple of questions about them.
Okay.
A couple of people from the forum got a question about, was it uncomfortable to wrestle in the RTC ring attire, the shirt and the tie?
Yes. The first time I worked in that, Godfather pushed me into the ropes, the tie wrapped around my rope, and as I came off of it, it damn near choked me to death. So, very uncomfortable. As you could see, Godfather and I both loosened up after a while with the shirts.
And there was lots of rumours at the time around the breakup of the right to censor. One of them was that Vince wanted to show a message to the censoring people by beating Steven Richards' WrestleMania match. Any truth to that backstage, and what was the real reason that the group was disbanded?
The only thing we ever really heard was that they thought that it had gone as far as it could go, and they had characters for all of us to go into. They had a way for all of us to come out of it. So, I think it was just something that they felt had run its course. I think the whole thing with Vince, Vince created the RTC because people were trying to censor him. So I think he figured, I'll just censor myself. And that's basically what we did. We took a lot of the stuff out of the WWE. We did it ourselves. And I don't think the censoring people, I don't think they got that for a while. I think they actually thought that we were censors, and I think it was a while before they actually got the fact that Vince was poking fun at them. But no, I think it was just the creative team felt they had gone, and they had ideals for all of us to go off on our own. The only thing, the drawback to that was.
Enjoying what you're hearing? Be sure and check out WrestlingEpicenter.com on social media at Facebook.com/WrestlingEpicenter, on Twitter at James Epicenter, and of course, WrestlingEpicenter.com for 24-hour news updates, our interview archives, and all the other information you've come to expect from the Wrestling Epicenter.